Hello, welcome to our astrology study group. And today we'll look at Saturn, but on the way to looking at Saturn, I found this really cool breakdown of the symbols. And I want to share that with you because looking at the glyphs, it's hard to sometimes remember which way they are and what they mean. But I came across this again. I found this in a couple of other texts. Can't recall off the top of my head, but some older texts from older astrology authors. But I found it again on Dienst. I don't know how you say it, Dienst. And they have a lot of good articles on their site. And this one was by a lady named Patricia Godden, and I just thought this is good because we're going to run through this and you'll really get the idea a little bit more of all of the symbols. And they basically break down to these three figures: circle, the semi-cross, and the cross. So these three basic shapes create these glyphs, and let's run through them, what each of them means, and then how they make up all of the glyphs, and then we'll get to Saturn after that. So I'll read a little bit here, and then we'll look down this sheet here, so you can see. Hopefully, you can see the circle, the semicircle, and the cross. If you don't, let me know. All right, so there we go. The three basic components that make up the symbols of the planets are shown here. The circle represents spirit. It has no beginning and no end. It is the spark of life that is in everyone. It is the immeasurable factor that is in all life, both animate and inanimate. The semicircle represents the soul, which is the non-material part of a person. That is the sum of all the experiences gained during life in a physical body. Now, these two things might be worth some meditation and contemplation, the difference between spirit and your soul. The soul is individual, right? Again, there's a lot here. So I would encourage you to go over this part again. And the cross represents matter. This is the easy one. Matter, the physical form of the three-dimensional world. It is the physical body and outer life lived on earth. The three components thus represent the three key factors of human beings: the spirit, the soul, and the physical body. Using these interpretations of the components and their interactions within the symbols of the planet, it is possible to gain a deeper understanding of the influence of each planet in life. So I want to run through these. I was going to just jump to Saturn, but it won't take us that long to go through these. And I really think it's important. And then we'll get through so much of Saturn and we can always come back. But this is, I think, really good. And I liked her interpretation of this. So the sun represents the source of all life. It is the spirit, and spirit is perfect. Human beings are first and foremost spirit, but a very small part of spirit incarnates into each person. Spirit can never be destroyed, as spirit is in everything. It is the oneness that unites all that is. This is the profound esoteric concept. Like spirit, the circle has no beginning and no end. The dot within the circle in the symbol of the sun may be considered to be that part of the whole that is manifest in a physical body. The moon. The moon is two co-joined crescents. It represents the soul and psyche, and consequently is associated with the personality that is expressed in this incarnation. This is the only symbol other than the sun that is made up of a single component. The symbol of the moon focuses attention on non-spirit and non-physical part of life. It's interesting that they're two the same, the sun's two halves are, in opposite directions, and the moon are in the same direction. Two receptive. All right, Mercury is the symbol containing all components. This is, I guess, maybe why Mercury is considered neutral or ambidextrous or hermaphroditic. It's a hard mouthful. It's the glyph can be thought of as the spirit, the spirit, the circle acting as a bridge. Okay, the spirit, the circle acting as a bridge between matter and the soul, represented by the crescent and the cross. It is consciousness, it is conscious coordination of body, soul, and spirit, and the means of communication between different parts of life. So you got the cross on the bottom and the soul on the top, and the spirit is, is in the middle there. Interesting in that perspective. The symbol of Venus represents matter, the cross of matter rising into spirit, the longing to rise into the state of beauty and love of spirit. Humankind wants to rise to a spiritual or divine level of being. Spirit is molding matter into beauty. Okay. In contrast, Mars, and I must have to say that this little, it's going to say this, or it should, but the arrow should just be a cross. It shouldn't, it was originally a cross, and it was on the upper part. It was like Venus upside down, but it's gotten to make, a arrow instead of, make it more masculine or whatever. But anyway, in contrast, Mars shows the circle representing spirit rising into part of the cross of matter. This is the spiritual fire struggling to manifest in physical life. The desire and urge to do this prompts many human actions. Jupiter. So now the Jupiter and the Saturn one are going to be opposite here. The Jupiter is the soul, the semicircle rising above the cross of matter. It can be likened to the soul wanting to expand beyond present limitations. Where contrast, Saturn is the soul striving to push up through the burdens and responsibilities of matter. By doing so, it learns to be careful, methodical, and disciplined in its approach. And again, this symbol here, it shouldn't have the little flippy thing on the end. It should really just be that half moon looking, if you were to draw it correctly. And then this Uranus one is wrong. I don't know what's that is, but anyway, I didn't notice that. Maybe it printed wrong. I didn't even see it. But the Uranus should be the circle and then the cross. And then on each side, it has the half moons. It's a circle. How do I say it? You've got the half moon and the half moon, and then you've got the cross. Okay. All right. So we'll read what it says. Uranus is the divine spirit rising into matter, but within the context of the perfectly balanced soul, two equal crescents. The crescents of the soul look away from matter, looking out to the truth and light that is this planet. So actually, if you close your eyes and imagine that it's like the circle on the bottom, and then you have the cross, and then on either end, of that cross, you have it holding one of them half moons and going outward. All right. Neptune is the soul above matter and open to inspiration and illumination, or muddle and confusion, depending on how it is placed. Some people put a circle at the bottom of the symbol. This is spirit rising into both the soul and matter to inspire them with mysticism and transcend boundaries. Right. And Pluto, this is, I don't know why they printed this. The original one of Pluto is the circle. And then, okay, it's like from the top to bottom, you have the circle, the half moon, and then the cross. So I don't know. This is like the alternate PL Pluto one, but does she mention it the real way here? Pluto is a spirit cradled by the soul that has mastered physical life. This is the ultimate transformation, the alchemy of transmuting the gross matter and manner of mankind into perfect vehicle for the wonder of spirit. Okay, I think they just maybe somehow printed wrong in here in this article, but anyway, this is, I thought, a really good explanation of, these three figures throughout that. So let's going to go look a little bit more at Saturn. And I'm just going to go over, give you something to look at. And we'll look at this one. Okay. All right, so this is just a chart. And actually, we're going to just look at one. This is my chart, just so I can have something to talk about. So Saturn, we get to break it down astrologically. So if we know that it rules Capricorn, and we know that it also rules Aquarius, it was the ancient ruler of both of those signs. And both of those signs are right next to each other in the middle of winter, right? The beginning of winter, Capricorn, and then the second part, the fixed part of winter, the middle of winter, Aquarius. So they're both cold, cold, dry. And if we go now opposite of those, we know that the opposite of Capricorn is Cancer. The opposite of Aquarius is Leo. And that's the time, those are the detriment. That's when Saturn is actually in its detriment. All right. So when we're looking for where Saturn is in the chart, we kind of want to keep some of these things in mind. And then also, Capricorn, Saturn, I might say that wrong, but if Saturn is exalted in Libra. So it feels good. If it's not in Capricorn or in Aquarius, Saturn would like to be in Libra. So those are the kind of the best placements for Saturn. And then you would also conject that Capricorn 10th house would also be good for it. It would get along with there. It's like a little bit better, better edge. The 11th house, and then also the Libra house, the 7th house. Those would probably be the better houses and the better signs if you were going to have Saturn in anything, to its favor. So opposite of that, again, would be then Cancer or the 4th house, Leo or the 5th house, or Aries or the 1st house. So if you find Saturn in any of those places, it's going to make it more problematic. Let me just put it that way, because everything, we're going to have something somewhere, something in some different type. I mean, how profound. We have something somewhere. No, but I mean, everybody has things, and it's not all nicey nice. It's not all like perfect. There's nothing that can be, the planets aren't going to always be in something conducive to everything. At least, I don't know. I don't think mathematically it's that possible, but maybe here and there might be a good chart popping out here and there. But nonetheless, we'll look at that. So when we're going to look at the position of Saturn, we want to look at a few things. We want to note a few things. So we're going to go look and see, is it in its home sign? Okay, so here is it in Capricorn, Aquarius, or is it in its exalted place, Libra? No. Okay, so not there. It's not. So it's like I wouldn't give it a plus. And then is it in any of its detriment? Is it in Cancer or Leo or Aries? Nope. So it's kind of neutral according to that. And then is it in the 10th, 11th, or 7th? Nope. So I don't get a plus there. And is it in it's any of the detriment houses, 4th, 5th, or 1st? Nope. Missed it on both accounts. Look, in the sign and the house. But anyway, okay. So on that level, for me, Saturn is neutral. It's not more colder or more hotter or more out of balance on that level. But then you have to know, well, where is it? Okay. So in mine, Saturn is in Pisces. So wherever you find Saturn, let's just break it down at first by the sign. That's where you're going to be more cold or more dry, or there's going to be less circulation in your body. So in my case, it would be, anything that's related to Pisces. And there's, books of rulership. But if we remember, this the basic way of remembering where the body parts are. Just think about a body unfolding in this whole chart here. So if the body were here, the head would be like Aries, and then the throat and upper arms would be Taurus, and then the first part of the chest and lungs and arms would be Gemini, and the stomach and part of that would be Cancer, and then it goes around. So so by the time we get all around here, we've got knees, with Capricorn, and ankles, heading into the Aquarius, and then Pisces would be the feet. Okay, so there's more to it than that, but you can just think about that a being, rolled, kind of doing a back bend around here, and you can just kind of see the parts of the body, just think where they would be. And I think we've looked at those, and there's several. You can just write astrology, go to Google Images and astrology body parts on the chart or something. You can probably find that one. We have looked at that anyway. So you would kind of note what part of the body, Saturn is. If somebody had Saturn in Aries, it would have to do more with things to the head. Maybe there's lack of blood flow to the head, or a problem with, blood flow, or cold, or ischemic. Could be, part of the brain could be somewhat ischemic. More colder, maybe again, lack of circulation there. If it were in Taurus, maybe there would be maybe there would be a hoarseness, problems with the throat, maybe tends to be more dry throat, more problems. There could be problems in that area. If it were more if in Gemini, you would expect more lack of circulation, or the dryness maybe in the hands, arms, upper chest, lungs, maybe tend toward more asthmatic conditions. If it's in Cancer, there would be maybe more digestive problems, not enough blood flow to the digestive organs. Was Leo, like heart, and I think the spinal cord. So there may be some restrictions in there. Maybe the heart, maybe there's not enough nutrition. Maybe there's some, ischemia, maybe problems with the valve, maybe calcification over the years. Why the heart, on that one? Well, maybe it's because it's in Leo, yada, yada, yada. Okay, all the way around. So that's, we tend to look at that. So in my case, in this one, I would go, well, there may be some restriction in blood flow to the feet. And then you think also, what things does Saturn rule? Saturn is that it's the last planet, before you go to the outer reaches, right? So it's like it rules boundaries. So it would be like your skin, one boundary. It rules minerals. So anything to do with, calcium, magnesium regulation in the body, just minerals in general, anything where you would have a mineral deposit, gallstones, kidney stones, anything like arthritis, anything in the joints, gout, mineral deposits, uric acid crystals, things like that. So in this case, I would say, so I'm looking for Saturn things, which would be maybe deposits in the feet, any kind of arthritis, uric acid crystals. And it's like, at my, older years, I was an athlete, on my feet a lot, so I've done a lot of fun things, injuries to my feet. So in my older years, I'm just noticing my big toe, that big joint is more swollen. It's more arthritic. It's more gouty. So I probably need to work with that. And, I've got some Saturn aspects happening. So it's exacerbating it with me right now. And that's what some of the things we look for, especially now, and with some of the, Mars just moved into Gemini, which would be squaring my Saturn. You can see my Saturn's at 1 degree Pisces. That's mutable. And, I just know that Mars, the inflamed kind of planet in Gemini is now squaring my Saturn. So it's like, it's gotten aggravated, and then I've kind of same thing with my thumb, same area. It's that kind of gouty sort of arthritic, but, and it's exacerbated. I just wanted to point that out. What else would I notice here? It's in the 8th house. So I could also look for 8th house issues if I didn't find so many things in Piscean issues. So I could look at, lower bowels, the sexual organs, and, you can look at male or female hormones, put that in with the phase of life, like for women, and, kind of correlate things, see what aspects are going on there. Maybe there's some moon or Venus aspects that might indicate hormonal problems. So this is how you kind of build on it. You see what the tendencies are, and then you go fishing, so to speak. Okay, so again, Saturn. A couple of other things before I move on. We'll look at somebody else too. If Saturn is if you're looking at a birth chart and it's above, well, let's put it this way. If it's above the horizon, it's warmer because it's still daylight. If Saturn is below the horizon, it was a night birth and it's going to be colder. The person is going to be colder, or the Saturn problem can be exacerbated because it's below the horizon. Same thing with the sun. If the sun is above the horizon during a day birth, you'll have more vitality. If the sun is below during a night birth or before, morning, there's lower vitality. And if the sun and Saturn are both below the horizon, there'll be more, I should say, there'll be less vitality, maybe more Saturn type symptoms, or could possibly be. And then if you stack it, if say you have a sun in Aquarius, in the fourth house, which is below, then, there's going to be maybe more of a tendency for those problems to exist or be exacerbated when certain things, aspects are coming around that are maybe aggravating it. Longer type, planets. Maybe you have like Mars right now. Mars is going into Gemini, and then it's going to retrograde there. It's going to be in Gemini for 7 months. And it's, a 2-year orbit, and it's going to be in one sign for 7 months, 2-year orbit. So it's half, more than 6 months. That's 1/4 of the time that it would be orbiting. It's going to be in the same place. So that's pretty significant. And if you have something making some aspects to that, then it might be aggravating for you. Okay, let me get to another one. Say stop sharing that planet and let's get a new one. Screen share. Well, you know what I'm going to have to do first? I'm going to go over here first, and I'm going to have to change it down here. Hold on. Let's go. Let's look at, the next one. Okay, I got Mick Jagger. I was trying to find some people that had new share. But hold on. Didn't pull it up on. All right, stop share. Let me just get new share. I think this should do it. Let's see. Is this going to pull up Mick? Yeah. All right. I think this is Mick Jagger. I was just trying to find some people that I had a good birth time, so I could, not only see the planet, the planet in the sign, but I like to see the house as well. All right. So, look at him. Look at this. I haven't looked at him in a while. Look at the super Leo. That doesn't surprise me. On stage. I mean, this guy is born to be on stage. And look at, if this is true, if this is a true birth time, I have to go through and validate. There's in Solar Fire. Well, I guess in both programs you can validate, when you type in the birth time, you can put the accuracy of your birth time. But anyway, look at all of this in here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 planets, and then the North Node, all in Leo. Wow. And then look at this big conjunction, the Sun, Jupiter, and Pluto. Wow. I mean, and then Mercury close by. I mean, it's pretty close. I mean, they're all really tight. Wow. Isn't that crazy? All right. Where's his Saturn? His Saturn is in Gemini, in the first house, right in by his rising sign, Gemini rising. So, I mean, it's like he could be a serious businessman. Look at that. Not in his second house, but still, look at all that. Cancer on the cusp of that. Okay. So nonetheless, let's look at it. It's below the horizon. His sun is below the horizon. Okay, so we note that a little colder. He kind of, let's see, what else we got here? We got Leo. Okay, so it's in Leo, and that we said it was a detriment. It's not in the 5th house. It's not in the 4th. It's okay. It was in Aries. It's in the fall. No, I mean, it's in the house of the fall, I should say. It's in the Aries house. So that's not in a good house. It's kind of the fall of Saturn's house. Okay. And then it's in the detriment sign. So it's not a real strong, it's not the best placement for Saturn. So I would say that he probably has some problems in some of those areas. Maybe and he's tall and lanky, so he may have joint problems, arthritis. He might have to work really hard or keep himself, top notch. I haven't looked at his life, but it's interesting. I think he's still going pretty good. I thought he was still in pretty good shape, so I think he's kept up a pretty good lifestyle. So maybe he's kept himself, more healthy. But I would look for that. I would look for things, more in, he's got it in Gemini, Saturn in Gemini. So maybe more lung things. Maybe, I think his cardio is got to be on point. Maybe that's why I think he's always been good in his cardio. And then it being in an Aries house, that's it's more, I would think in one level could almost be more warming, because Aries is warm, even though it's in a detriment, or the fall, it's not happy on there. It's still, I would think, going to bring some warmth to it. So I think it would slightly offset it, on my opinion. What else would we find? We could define some restriction or coldness in arms, maybe carpal tunnel, things like that, clavicles, joint problems in the arms, lungs, voice, it's partly Taurus, but maybe, that top part of there. Okay. So anyway, that's what I would look at with him. I just like to look at more, just dive right in people's charts, but it's okay. Now let me get another one here. Then I'll switch it. Let's look at Elvis Presley. All right, new share. Okay, here's Elvis. We should see Elvis. And his Saturn is below the horizon as well. And so is his sun. So he's Capricorn sun, and look at Venus in Capricorn. Interesting. He's got Saturn in Pisces, but look at way at the end of Pisces. So maybe he had gout at the very end parts of his toes. I think he got really fat there for a while. So he probably got into a lot of rich food and stuff. And then maybe he had some, problems, maybe angina. It's in the 5th house here. No, wait, it's in the 4th house. 1, 2. Yeah, it's in the 4th house. What else can we say about this? Pisces, 4th house, it would lend itself to food overconsumption, drugs, and then being the 29th degree, it's a critical degree. All right. Another thing, while I was thinking about it, sometimes, we're looking at Saturn today, but when we're looking at just health in general, you also want to look at the 6th house, because that's the house of health. And then we'd look at the 8th house and then the 12th house as well. But for today, we're just going to kind of look at Saturn. All right, what else do we know about this here? There's still Pisces on the cusp, and then right at the end part of Pisces. So that's kind of right at the end there. Maybe neuralgia there. Maybe, what else would we expect? It's in, again, the 4th house. So maybe some stomach troubles, maybe gout, not digesting very well things, overconsumption, and then again affecting, the feet. I have to look that up. All right, let's do another one. Let me get another one for you. I think I got one more in here. Oh yeah, this evil guy. All right, let me switch. New share. Okay, this one's Bill Gates. I wanted to see his, because he seems kind of spineless. When I look at him, he's like one of them gangly, lanky, but it's like he looks like he doesn't really have a spine, like he's being puppeted around. And some, when people are more lanky or tall, sometimes they have good posture, but he's just like so spineless. It's just the word I get. It's good to help thinking about that. So Saturn, okay, he's got it in his 5th house. It's in Scorpio. All right, so Scorpio area, the lower, say, part of the bowels, the sex organs, This is kind of, to me, the first thing that comes to mind is sort of, I mean, it's just like a stab you in the back energy, so maybe he's get his own back stabbed. Maybe he's got kidney issues. Maybe, sexual dysfunction or sexual perversion, sexual, problems here with Venus right next to Saturn conjunct there in Scorpio. I mean, that's just kind of what I was thinking about, that just because Venus, they're a perverted sexual thing going on here. And then the sun close by, lighting it up, so to speak, and the sun's behind it, the stuff is in front of it. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm picking up on. But the Saturn being right there next to Venus, it kind of makes it more of that malfunction, because he's not a real attractive, hunky person at all. If he was looking like Elvis and he had this, I would think that there might be more of a lust or problems, getting himself in trouble with sexual encounters or having lots of illegitimacies or something like that. But it's fifth house at Krish. But this guy is he's gross, and he's ugly, and he's unattractive, and he's evil, and he exudes just nastiness. So anyway, that's my opinion. And that's kind of how I see this right in here. So I think that there's some problems there. This is when I would look at that and I would see problems. It's below the horizon, sun below the horizon, Venus right there on the sun. I mean, on Saturn. Okay. Oh, and then just interesting too, look at, while we have this he's got this other real close conjunction with Jupiter and Pluto. I mean, in Leo there in the second house. I mean, we got money with that, exploiting things, but it's just interesting, these couple of really close conjunctions there in his chart. A lot of times you don't see that. All right, get him out of there. Stop sharing that guy. All right, let's go over to, let's see, transits. All right, so let me just look at this, give you this to look at. New share, and I think you got this one. Okay, so this is just today, but I wanted to wrap up a little bit about Saturn, just to give you again, it's the, the soul, going back to the elements and those, the circle, the half moon and the cross. You've got the soul struggling to rise, up through the cross of matter. And that's what, I guess, you get the hard lessons. That's what, you have to make the structure. But I think it's a matter of perspective. You have to have structure. And I think Saturn just points out where the weak points are that need to be paid attention to. And when you don't pay attention to them right along, then it becomes problematic later, because you've swept the dust under the rug too many times. And that's why you came in and tripped on it and fell down and bumped your head. It's like that kind of an energy, that kind of a thing. It's like, well, if you would have swept it up, or, if you just did it once, it wouldn't have done that, and if you would have cleaned it up, then it wouldn't happen. So that's the kind of energy Saturn is. And if we make friends with it and just use it as like, just doing the right thing, trying to do it orderly, trying to have boundaries, parameters, you have to prune the garden. Otherwise it would just get totally out of hand. Jupiter would have your gardens run away, vines and weeds and everything growing everywhere. And, Saturn, would put someone's like, nope, we got to prune that. We got too many plants growing out of this one pot. They need to be taken out. We've got to put in a path, and those are all things that need to be done. So that's the kind of the nature of Saturn. And when you're looking at it in somebody's chart, we want to, again, remember, and you might just have to go back to your notes to remember where it's, it rules two signs. Remember, it rules Capricorn and it rules Aquarius. So you want to note that, and then you want to note where it's exalted. So wherever it's ruled, it's rulership, and some planets have more than one, rules more than one sign, but it rules two. So you want to know, okay, well, it's comfortable in Capricorn then, and it's comfortable in Aquarius, and it's exalted in Libra. Those would be the best places for those, the best signs. And then whatever houses those represent, like Capricorn represents the 10th, Aquarius 11th, Libra the 7th. Then if if Saturn were in one of those houses, it would have a little more comfortableness to it, a little bit more ease. So you look at that. And then you go, okay, yes or no. Where that's, a little more, a little less. And then you go to the opposite of it. So what's the opposite of Capricorn, Cancer? What's the opposite of Aquarius? Leo. And what's the opposite of Libra? Aries. So then you go looking to see if it's any in a bad place, in one that's not as strong, I should say, not bad place, but one that's not as strong. So if it's in Cancer, Leo, or Aries, or if it's in the first, fourth, or fifth house, then it's not as strong a placement. There's a little bit maybe more problematic. Then, of course, you look at the aspects. I didn't mention it, but that's, of course, if you've got a lot of squares or inconjuncts, or it's not integrated at all. Maybe it's not making an aspect with anything. So then you kind of note all of those things. You think about the body parts associated, just like if somebody were born here today on this, it's in Aquarius, or it's in Aquarius, and it's in, the second house. So we would have cold, dry, Aquarius is, like the, I think it's like the ankles, lower legs area. There's more to it, but that's just, top of my head. And then it's in second house. So we got Taurus kind of things too. All right. So those are good to note. And then note if it's above or below the horizon, it will be warmer or colder. It'll be warmer above, colder below. And then might as well note the sun, because if, the sun is the essence of life, if the sun is above, it's going to add more heat. If the sun is below, it's not. All right. That pretty much. And then I guess you can also note one more thing. If it's in a male or female sign, if it's in a male sign, it's more yang or more warm. If it's in a female or feminine side, it's more yin or more cold. So if it's below the horizon in a cold sign, in a yin sign too, it's going to be more cold and dry. And remember, where that Saturn is in your chart is where your body is going to tend to, those body parts associated with either the house or the sign are going to have a tendency to be more cold and dry. Okay, so that is Saturn. And I'm going to stop this, and then I will start it with the daily transits on another video. See you in a minute.